The leasing agent slid a rejection letter across the counter. Credit score 487. I am sorry. Sarah Miller stared at the number again, her throat tight. She'd never missed a payment. Not one.
This can't be right.
She opened her credit monitoring app, fingers trembling, and watched the report load. 14 open accounts, total debt, $47,800. Not a single one was hers. The account names, the opening dates, none of it matched, but the mailing address on every account was identical. 14 Birch Lane, her childhood home. That was when the bottom of her stomach dropped, because only one other person still used that address for her mail.
Jennifer.
Her sister had opened 14 credit cards in her name, and the debt was $47,000 and climbing.
22 months. Some of these cards have been open for nearly 2 years.
She called the first bank on the list, voice unsteady, and asked for the last statement address. The representative read back, 14 Birch Lane, Apartment B, her childhood home. That address hadn't been hers since college, but Jennifer still used it for everything.
She's been receiving the statements, shredding them before anyone notices.
The image was clear. Jennifer on her sofa, opening an envelope with Sarah's name, feeding it into the shredder. Sarah's hands clenched. This wasn't a mistake. It was systematic, ongoing.
She used my good credit because she knew I'd never check.
She scrolled to the bottom of the report. One account had a cosigner listed under a document she'd never signed. The signature on that document would lead somewhere even darker. But for now, betrayal sat in her chest like a cold stone. She contacted the bank and demanded a copy of the cosigned document. When it arrived, the top of the page read, Power of Attorney. At the bottom, 2 signatures. One was a clumsy forgery of her own name. The other, on the witness line, was unmistakable.
Patricia Miller. My mother signed as a witness. She helped Jennifer commit fraud. She put her name on a federal document. This isn't just credit card fraud. It's wire fraud. A felony.
Sarah sat at her kitchen table. Documents spread, connecting each piece in a chain that led straight into federal court. The forgeries, the mother's signature, the total amount, it crossed a line that turned a family problem into a federal crime.
If I go forward, they'll both face federal charges.
She didn't call Jennifer. She didn't call her mother. She sat in silence, weighing 22 months of lies against one word, wire fraud, and then she made the call that would turn everything upside down. Not to them, but to someone who could do something about it. She called the non-emergency line and spoke to a detective, her voice steady as she listed each account, each date, each lie. At the station, she handed over the credit report, circled in red, and watched the officer type slowly. The officer told her she'd need to file an FTC identity theft affidavit as well, so she went home and pulled up the website. She signed the identity theft affidavit, each stroke of the pen feeling heavier than the last.
A police report and an affidavit won't bring back my credit. They won't undo the forgery.
She started researching federal fraud attorneys, scrolling through names and reviews until one stood out. David Klein. She scheduled a consultation and then spent the next hour organizing every piece of evidence into a folder.
I am not just fighting for my credit. I am fighting for my name.
The folder on her passenger seat felt like a weapon. Quiet, legal, coded in 22 months of receipts. She drove to the office of David Klein, federal fraud attorney, and pulled into the parking lot, the weight of what she was about to do pressing on her. David Klein's office smelled of old books and fresh coffee. He gestured Sarah into the leather chair without preamble.
Show me what you have, Ms. Miller.
Sarah spread out the credit reports, the forged power of attorney, and the witness line with her mother's signature. David picked up the power of attorney. His fingers stopped on Patricia Miller's name.
A forged federal document witnessed by your mother. That's wire fraud. FBI territory.
The air thickened. She'd known it was serious, but hearing the words made her lungs feel tight.
We'll need more for a federal case. A recorded admission would be strongest. Can you get one?
Record my sister. A line I never thought I'd have to cross.
David slid a list across the desk. Handwriting samples, mail routing records, and the recording. Sarah nodded, tucking the list into her folder. The next step led straight into her sister's engagement party. She started with the handwriting, old birthday cards, a sticky note Jennifer had left on her fridge, anything with her sister's signature. Then the mail routing records. A supervisor confirmed the statements had been forwarded to 14 Birch Lane for over a year.
It's all there. Names, dates, routing numbers, a trail that leads directly to her.
The engagement party invitation landed 3 days later. Cream cardstock, gold lettering, Jennifer's name next to a man she'd only met once.
She's celebrating her future, and I am building a case to destroy it.
But that party, with its champagne and laughter, was also the perfect place for a recorded call. She picked up her phone and scrolled to a name she hadn't called in months. Katie, her sister's closest friend. She dialed, asking Katie to meet for coffee. No details, just a favor.
This is the line. If I cross it, there's no coming back.
But the folder on her passenger seat felt heavier than the invitation, and she turned the key in the ignition. She asked Katie to come to her apartment. Katie arrived confused, already wary.
I need you to record Jennifer. There is no other way to prove federal wire fraud.
Wire fraud? Sarah, what is happening?
She opened 14 credit cards in my name. Our mother helped. It's a felony.
She slid the credit report and the forged power of attorney across the coffee table. Katie went pale.
So you want me to trick her into confessing? I can't do that.
Please, just ask her about credit scores. If she brags, we have the proof.
An hour later, Sarah sat alone in her car, a small recording monitor glowing on the dashboard. Katie was in her own living room, phone clutched tight. As she dialed Jennifer's number, the call connected. Katie's face was pale, voice forced into casual, and on the monitor, Sarah heard Jennifer's voice, bright, unsuspecting.
How's the engagement planning going, Jen? You must be so busy.
It's a dream. Robert's handling the vendors, the venue, all of it. I barely have to lift a finger.
Speaking of money, I got a credit card offer the other day with a crazy limit. Made me wish I had a perfect score like you.
Oh, honey, my score isn't perfect, but I know someone whose is.
What do you mean? Did you get someone to co-sign?
Nothing so complicated. I just opened a few cards under my sister's name. She's got immaculate credit.
Really? Sarah doesn't mind?
She never checks her reports. I've had these cards open for almost 2 years and she hasn't noticed a thing.
In the parked car, Sarah closed her eyes as the words crackled through the monitor. 2 years, 14 cards, not a single regret. She pressed stop. The recording icon turned from red to black. The trap had sprung clean. Sarah returned to Klein's office exactly 36 hours after the call. She didn't waste time with small talk. She set her phone on the desk. The audio file cued to Jennifer's voice.
Let's hear the golden child.
The recording played. Katie's nervous questions, Jennifer's arrogant replies, 2 years of deception laid bare in 5 minutes.
It's perfect. The admission, the details, the timeline. She gave us everything. I can draft the federal complaint tonight. File it with the U.S. Attorney's Office on Monday.
Monday, 4 days, then my own mother and sister become federal defendants.
I'll need your signature on the affidavit. You understand that once this is filed, there's no going back.
She nodded, pulled the pen from his hand, and signed her name where he pointed. David slid the completed file into his briefcase. The next person to open it would be a federal agent. The meeting with the FBI took place on a Tuesday. Sarah and David sat across from Agent Miller in a windowless conference room. Miller was a stocky man in a dark suit. He opened the file and began reading without preamble. He held the power of attorney under the desk lamp. His finger stopped on Patricia Miller's signature.
Your mother witnessed a forged document. That's either conspiracy or obstruction.
She helped my sister steal $47,000. I want them both charged.
They played the recorded call. Miller listened, face blank, until Jennifer's voice echoed through the speaker.
We'll open a formal investigation today. I'll have agents pull phone records and bank footage.
The case has left my hands. Whatever happens now, the FBI decides the timing.
Miller handed her a case number. It felt heavier than the folder. The federal investigation into Jennifer Miller and Patricia Miller was officially underway. 2 agents intercepted Patricia Miller on her front porch in the late afternoon light. She clutched the door frame, her smile already congealing. They asked about the power of attorney. She said she didn't remember signing. The lie hung in the air. With her denial recorded, Miller obtained warrants for all bank and phone records. The case file grew thicker. David called Sarah. The FBI was moving. She should expect an update soon. 2 days later, Agent Miller called her directly.
We have enough for arrest warrants. Both Jennifer and Patricia.
Arrest warrants. My own family.
Miller told her they planned to execute the warrants simultaneously. 1 team for Jennifer, 1 for Patricia. Jennifer's engagement party was 6 days away. The FBI would hit it. Sarah's stomach tightened. Interrupting that celebration made her wince, but she said nothing. The cream invitation sat pinned to Jennifer's refrigerator, a reminder of everything she was about to celebrate. On the night of the party, Jennifer clinked glasses with friends, radiant in a white dress, the future a perfect blank slate. Robert caught her eye from across the room and raised his drink. She blew him a kiss. Her engagement ring caught the light, a symbol of a promise that had no idea how soon it would be tested. Less than 2 miles away, Agent Miller sat in an unmarked SUV, reviewing the warrant with 4 other agents.
She doesn't know we're coming. Nice and clean. Wait for my signal.
In her apartment, Sarah sat alone, holding the same invitation she'd received weeks earlier.
Any minute now.
The party music thumped, the laughter swelled. None of them heard the engine purring outside. The SUV's engine idled in the dark, like a silent predator waiting for the right moment. The SUV rolled forward, headlights still off, and parked 2 houses down from the glow of Jennifer's living room. Inside, Jennifer raised a champagne flute, her voice cutting through the chatter. To my future husband and the life we deserve. Robert pulled her into a slow dance, his hands resting on her waist. Neither of them heard the soft click of car doors up the street.
All right, move in. No one leaves until the warrants are served.
4 agents in dark suits moved in formation up the driveway, their shadows stretching toward the porch light. Sarah's phone buzzed against her palm. A single text from Miller. In position.
Now?
The music inside swelled to a chorus. Laughter echoed through the open windows. Nobody heard the first knock.
FBI, open the door.
The door swung back. Party lights spilled onto the agents' faces, and the music inside died mid-chord.
Jennifer Miller, step forward. You are under arrest for federal wire fraud.
Jennifer turned, her champagne glass wobbling, her perfect smile dissolving into disbelief.
What? This is insane. This has to be a mistake. Robert, do something.
The agent pulled her wrists behind her back. The cuffs clicked shut, metallic and final. He recited her rights over the stunned silence, each word landing with the weight of a gavel. Robert stood frozen, his drink tilting toward the floor, his face drained of all color. Patricia screamed from the back of the room, lunging forward. "You can't do this. She's done nothing." 2 agents flanked her, hands firm on her arms as 40 guests parted like a tide.
This is Sarah's doing, isn't it? She's jealous of my life. I'll ruin her for this.
The door slammed shut behind them. The party, once filled with laughter, never recovered. The remaining guests stood in clusters, whispering half-questions no one could answer. Champagne flutes sat abandoned on every surface.
Wire fraud? There has to be an explanation. Jennifer, what have you done?
An agent placed a firm hand on Patricia's shoulder and guided her toward the front porch. Her legs barely kept up.
Mrs. Miller, you witnessed a forged federal document, That is obstruction. We need you to come with us.
Patricia's hands began to shake. She looked back at the party through the window, then down at her own signature being pointed out.
This can't be happening. Not Jennifer. Not to us.
Another agent guided Patricia toward a second vehicle. She stumbled once, her heels catching on the driveway.
Where are you taking her? She's her mother.
The SUV doors closed. 2 Miller women were now in federal custody, and the man who thought he was marrying into the family stood pulseless in the driveway. The engagement banner inside drooped on one corner, untouched and already obsolete at the federal building. Patricia was put in an interrogation room. The overhead light buzzed, the metal chair cold.
Patricia Miller, you are charged with obstruction of justice. You witnessed a forged power of attorney used in wire fraud.
She stared at the paper, the word obstruction, swimming in her vision. Her signature, circled in red ink, was the one she'd denied remembering.
I didn't know. I just signed because Jennifer asked. I am her mother.
Ignorance isn't a defense. Witnessing a felony is obstruction.
The charge would now sit alongside her daughters in every federal filing. She pressed trembling fingers to her temple, hollow knowledge that her compliance made this possible. They uncuffed her from the chair, recuffed her wrists, and led her out. The mother who raised a golden child now sat in a concrete cell, awaiting an arraignment that would not go well. Jennifer's arraignment took place 3 weeks after the party. She wore an orange jumpsuit instead of a white dress. She pleaded not guilty, but the evidence file sat on the prosecutor's table as thick as a phone book. The judge looked over the half rim of her glasses. The court orders full restitution of $47,800, plus all credit restoration costs. The gavel cracked once, and the number became official. Jennifer's jaw tightened, but her eyes flickered toward the gallery, where no one sat. Sarah had chosen not to attend. She received the news by phone from David. He told her the restitution would begin processing immediately, and the credit bureaus would be notified.
$47,000. Every cent traced back to my name. Now it's coming back.
The first update hit her credit monitoring app the following week. Score 612. Climbing. The legal victory was settling in, but one piece remained. Robert still hadn't called. The months stacked quietly. Each credit bureau update showed fewer red flags and more green check marks on Sarah's report.
720 and climbing. The number that denied me a lease 8 months ago is almost fully restored.
Restitution checks arrived in plain envelopes. No apology, just the line item amounts that traced back to every fraudulent charge.
$47,000. Every cent returned. But no letter, no admission.
She deposited each one without ceremony. The money didn't erase the betrayal, but it quieted the noise.
I won the war on paper, but the person who should know the truth doesn't.
Robert had not called, not once, and Sarah understood that meant he was still deciding what to believe.
He'll call when he's ready, or he won't. Either way, the truth is there for him to find.
She left her phone on the coffee table and stood by the window. The city moved on, and so would she. The practical fight was over. The personal one waited in silence. It was late afternoon when Sarah's phone finally buzzed with a name she had saved months ago. Robert Hayes.
I've been sitting on questions. I don't know how to ask.
Ask the only one that matters.
Is all of it true?
I am sending you the federal indictment. Read it and decide.
She opened her laptop and attached the PDF without hesitation. The file that had ended her sister's engagement party now traveled to the man who was supposed to marry her. On his end, a notification lit up a dark room. Robert opened the file.
United States District Court. Criminal complaint. Wire fraud. Conspiracy. Her name. Her mother's name.
The words he had been denying for weeks sat plain in black and white. The line was still open, but Robert said nothing for a long time. The facts had finally spoken for themselves. The following morning, a post appeared on the couple's wedding website. No photo, just a single line in a pale font. The wedding of Jennifer Miller and Robert Hayes has been canceled. In a holding cell, Jennifer was handed a printed screenshot by a guard who said nothing.
He didn't even call. He just posted it.
The paper shook in her hands. The golden child had lost the last thing that mattered outside these walls. Miles away, a wedding dress hung alone in a darkened room, its train still wrapped in plastic. Robert was seen at a restaurant that evening, alone at a corner table, no ring on his finger.
She took everything. My freedom, my future, and now him.
The post had been shared and screenshotted a dozen times by morning. The comment section was a flood of shock and silence. The engagement was over, and for the first time, Jennifer understood that all the credit she stole could never buy her way back. Sarah pulled up her credit report one last time, just to see it. Score 760. Clean, the 14 fraudulent accounts were gone, scrubbed from her history like they never happened.
I feel quiet, not triumphant, like a weight I'd forgotten was there finally lifted.
She closed the laptop. The afternoon sunlight fell soft across the cushions. The wedding was canceled. The charges were filed. Her name was hers again.
Justice isn't loud. It's a low hum, the sound of the world correcting itself.
She stood by the window and watched the city move below, unhurried. The last year had taught her the difference between family and blood. She didn't need a courtroom to feel whole. She just needed the truth to land in the open. And standing there, she knew the safest bet she'd ever made was letting the truth catch up. The light outside softened into gold, then amber, then something quieter. She had not won in a way that makes headlines. No cameras, no vindication speeches, just a name restored. A score that climbed back to where it belonged. The people who sold her future for credit limit had paid the only price that really matters. A canceled wedding, a fraud conviction, a mother in cuffs. The ledger balanced.
I am not surprised by what came, only by how long I waited to let it.
She leaned her forehead against the cool glass and let the world move outside without her. The truth hadn't needed her to shout. It had only needed her to open the door, and in the quiet of her own living room, the safest bet she ever placed had finally paid out. End.